Finally, let us conclude with what we think is going to happen in this final.
Do you want to go you first, or do you want me to go
I
first?
think I think sadly, Is It Time Football is back for another episode. And today we are talking about the elephant in the room, the big game of the moment. So that's the Champions League final coming up very soon. Very,
Literally,
very soon.
literally today, it's happening. Literally
Literally today, we
today.
decided to talk about it because we are so excited. We cannot wait to watch this game. It's a great one. Dortmund versus Real Madrid at Wembley. Doesn't get better than this, doesn't it?
Really doesn't, especially when you look at just the stories of Royce and Kos on both sides. Final games for them.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know who I'm for in that one because both are legends. I have to edge a bit more for Cruz, because he's just an absolutely class player, and I've always adored watching him.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I can't lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Dortmund normally. But I do respect everything that Royce has done for that club and also for Germany in itself.
Definitely.
So so big respect to both those legends in their final game.
Hmm.
Well, for Roy's final game for Kroos, he's going to be at the Euros. So
Yeah, exactly.
gotta can't forget that. Um, but yeah, to start off a bit the episode, I think we're gonna get into a bit of a recap of both of their journeys in this Champions League season.
Yep,
Is that
exactly.
right?
Yep, gotta and also gotta just like in general, like kind of highlight their strengths, weaknesses, roasting them if there needs to be roasts. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can get the ball rolling here with Real Madrid,
Okay,
and to
so
say the least, I remember when we first talked about the new Champions League season coming up.
hmm,
I said Real Madrid up for it again this year as usual.
yep,
Even without Benzema, I thought they have such a solid squad
definitely.
and such a good group of players. And I think the big deciding factor this year is Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo stepping up to the plate after Benzema left.
1,000,000%. Like just like big goals, big moments. Um, I think it's
Especially Vinny
100%.
Jr.
Well, because there's a thing. I thought it was especially highlighted in the Bayern game,
Mm-hmm.
especially the first leg with Vinny, where Real Madrid again is this thing where it's like they can create chances almost out of nowhere. You don't see them coming ahead of time, and I think
Yeah.
that's what exemplifies how good Vinny's been. It's like he's ever present in the game in terms of his
Mm-hmm.
running, the way he drives out players, but
Mm-hmm.
he's such a big game player because literally it can come a chance out of nowhere and he just can take it, and it's such an impressive ability he has
Yeah.
at such a young age.
I have to be honest, I never would have expected Vinny to reach this level when he first came.
Hmm.
But he seems a lot of pundits slander him for being, too energetic or getting in people's faces. And I like it, to be honest. I think it's good to have somebody with that mentality in your team
Definitely.
and to not be afraid of people and consistently running on his toes and ready to basically pounce on any chance he has.
Absolutely.
And he has really shown a high level of football this season, which puts him in a good position to be in the Ballon d'Or rankings very highly.
A
I
million
mean,
percent.
we
Especially
had
if
the
Brazil,
Ballon, yeah,
especially if Brazil and Copa America, which they could.
yeah, especially. I mean, I know we had the episode about the hot takes where I said Phil Foden, but if Vinny Jr. gets it, I would not be surprised either at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. No, but again, Vinny Jr. so much praise for him, and I think again what I love about this Real Madrid team is the amazing blend of the youth and the experience. I mean, just like having that balance of like you have literally that like front three youth of like the Bellingham, Rodrigo, and Vinicius, right? With Bellingham like
Yeah.
8/Campbell, but then you have literally right behind Cruz, well experienced, well experienced, and then you have Carvajal at the right back position. All just
Mhm.
these players are just like, and then Modric from off the bench. It's just amazing to see. So
Yeah, it's a
um,
great combination of players, isn't it?
100%. No, absolutely. I really love this Real Madrid team. And we'll touch on this also with Dortmund later on, but I really appreciate this Real Madrid team was just like such an amazing mentality. And I think so much what we've seen this football season, just like mentality makes such a big difference
Yeah,
not
it
just in the big
does.
games, but in terms of differentiating, for lack of a better like expression, the
Yeah,
men from the boys, and it's just amazing to see.
it 100% does. And now looking at their group stage, I mean, they had a flawless group stage,
Yeah,
winning every single one of their games. Um, I have to say their group wasn't up to par of their level.
that's fair.
Napoli have been slightly disappointing this season, and Union Berlin, despite qualifying, was not Champions League level. I wouldn't even say they're European level at this point.
No, they've
Um,
unfortunately.
yeah, and Braga as well is a bit minnows compared to Real Madrid, so I'm not surprised they came out with 18 points.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I think in general with that group stage, it was quite obvious that they would be topping it. You
yeah,
know,
100%. And I think in the knockouts where I think this is what Real Madrid does because in the knockouts all the games were competitive, whether it was Leipzig,
yeah,
whether it was Man City, whether it was Bayern, they always make it competitive, and so it's
yeah,
a good thing in the sense because it highlights their strengths of the midfield and offense,
mm-hmm,
and how
mm-hmm,
Bellingham himself described how Ancelotti lets them play like off the cuff, kind of like giving that
yeah.
freedom and range, which is amazing. But then also, it's because they're very susceptible defensively, which I think is their weak point. It's not that they're bad,
They are quite susceptible. Yeah.
no, but that's the thing. That's their weak point. And it's weird because they have good individual defenders, but I think the problem is just like in this system of off the cuff flexibility, it just leaves them very susceptible defensively.
Well, let's not forget that they've had kind of a question mark about the keeper this season most of the time. Courtois has been out. Lunin stepped in. He's been okay. He's been pretty good. But you know, Courtois is different gravy when he's at his best.
He's going to be playing for the final, though. It's been confirmed.
Most likely, yes, he will be playing. So, I mean, they haven't announced the starting list, have they? No.
No. But it looks like it's gonna be Courtois. I saw because like I think Fabrizio Romano was reporting it as well. That like
Well, Lunin was sick all week. He still will be able to join, but it's a question mark on who's going to start. I would expect, based off of the fact that Lunin hasn't trained all week and that Courtois is back and fully healthy, that Courtois might play. But yeah, so their defense has been a bit of a lesser level this season, but you know they've still managed to like hold out well against most teams at times. I mean, their first knockout game was against Leipzig, which was competitive, and then they had the City game in the quarterfinal, which was both teams very good offensively and somewhat short-handed on the defense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, because second leg though, Real Madrid they were good defensively compact, but again, it was one of those things where, you know, City scored, and I think what most impressed me that game from Real Madrid was because I thought after City scored one, they would score again, but Real Madrid were very defensively solid, so I have to give them the credit there. Yeah. No, but I agree. I think again, it's that thing of the flexibility play, but again, Real Madrid and they showed against Bayern, even when they went behind, never kind of Real Madrid, and I think that's the different level of just like different gravy in terms of the mentality. Like, doesn't matter how late it is in the game. It looks like they can always mount some kind of comeback, which is just incredible.
Yeah, of course. And then obviously they beat Bayern with what a great fixture that was. It was, I mean, I have a lot to say about that game, but that might be for another episode. But they did deserve it. To give them credit, they did deserve it.
Yeah.
I think there were some poor refereeing decisions, but anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so up until now, they've reached this final being pretty classy, you know, flawless group stage, competitive knockout round games, and they've shown that they are mentality-wise a tough team to come up against, as always, as it's always been the case with them. Yes. They've shown it in this, say, last 15 years. They've shown it again and again and again. You know? So not surprising at this rate.
Exactly.
Now, on the other hand, you can't underestimate the ability of Dortmund.
Definitely not.
Mentality-wise as well.
I think that's what's impressed me the most during this Champions League, just the focus on the sheer mentality strength. I saw Gabe give an interview actually, reflecting on the Champions League run that they had. And if you remember the Atletico Madrid game, so Dortmund were 2-0 up in the second leg, taking a head on aggregate, but then they got pegged back 2-2. And Kobo said even after they conceded the 2 goals, they knew they were going to win the game still. Because they knew that those 2 goals came a little bit against the run of play. They were a little bit just like, one was the deflection off Hummels, the other one was a weird goal. But that's what I think was remarkable. It's just like they have this mentality where they almost know like how to get past the obstacle and they know how to come back. And in the PSG thing, that mentality was on display defensively during both legs.
Yeah.
Extreme competent focus with Schlotterbeck and Hummels during the entirety of both legs. I thought it was like, like people will talk about the 6 shots on the post in the bar, and I get that. But I also look at that and I'm like, apart from those chances, which were basically all outside the box, PSG were with leaders in the box. And I think that's the point of how well it was from Schlotterbeck and Hummels to cut off the passes and make those interceptions. And it's part of their mentality.
I have to say, though, I am very surprised with Dortmund making it to this final, because in the Bundesliga, they have been mediocre at best this season.
I agree.
They are sitting 5th, if I'm not. They finished 5th.
Yeah, they finished.
If I'm not mistaken.
Just Champions League because of the.
Just getting Champions League, and then you look at the teams that are next to them, and they were only close to Leipzig. And I think they lost both of their games to Leipzig this season, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right.
So very underwhelming Bundesliga year for them. But the Champions League, they've somehow, despite being in the group of death, as everybody called it, managed to come on top of it, even with PSG and AC Milan in it.
Everyone like hated on them, seeing that they become bottom of the group. I literally said, and I think we talked about some predictions maybe, but I actually thought after how well they did in the group, I thought they would make it at least in the semifinals. I really did. I thought they would beat PSV, and I actually backed them to be Atletico. PSG was a bit different, but I did back them, and I think getting to that thing, because I think everyone's surprised by it because of their Bundesliga performances.
Because of their Bundesliga performance, yeah.
Right, and it makes sense. But I think the reason why it also makes sense that they've made it this far is because they're an inconsistent team, and a lot of that is down to Edin Terzic, I think. Because what Terzic does, he's not a top-level manager in terms of consistency, and it shows in the Bundesliga. But what he does is more like he instills this kind of mentality and like fight or die attitude in the players, and that's why they get up for the big games of the cup competitions. You see what I mean? It's like, again, I don't think Terzic is an amazing coach, but what he does so well is that in the big games that matters, he knows how to set up the team well. I was very impressed by how he set them up against PSG, because I actually thought I was worried for them defensively that game, but it was so good defensively from that setup, I think. And credit to Terzic.
I am a bit skeptical of how this is gonna happen in the final again, because they have, what is so sensational about Dortmund in the Champions League this season is they've managed to hold out based off of their defensive performances.
Right.
And I wonder if they will even be able to score against Real Madrid.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because in the second leg against PSG, they didn't generate the most chances. But
no, they did not.
Really did not. But if you looked at the chances they did create, because Adeyemi had that shot on the counter and then Hummels had the goal. And in the first leg, you see the way it happens. It's these long balls over the top of these set pieces. And to be fair, actually, like a striker like Füllkrug, who's very clinical, he doesn't need a lot of chances, and he actually takes them. I rarely see Füllkrug being very wasteful in front of goal. I hope I don't jinx him for today. I do see him as he's very clinical, and I think it actually works, that system. So I do agree with what you mean, but I think Real Madrid don't give me the most confidence defensively.
Yeah.
I think, we'll talk about this later for combined 11, I think Dortmund has a better defense than Real Madrid currently this season. I generally think that. Midfield and offense, Real Madrid is better, but I think Dortmund can really thrive off defensively. Look, I think you're spot on. Like, look, it's going to be a very interesting game to see the dynamic, but I do have faith. I think Dortmund's actually scoring this game. I do. The question is, I think they can pull it out a lot, but I've gained a lot of faith in them during this campaign, I have to be honest.
Yeah, credit to them to making it to the final, and they've shown it in a great way.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's time for our combined 11.
Yes.
And I think both of these teams' strong points are going to be showcased in this combined 11.
Definitely.
So to start off, for me, if Courtois would have been healthy and played the whole season, I would have expected Courtois to start as the combined 11 keeper. But for me, it's got to be Kobo.
100%. He's been the best goalkeeper in the Champions League this season. Like, just statistically.
For sure.
Percentage. Yeah, it's 100% got to be Kobo. And, as a Swiss person, I'm so glad to see him thriving. It's amazing to see. Yeah.
It's good to see him thriving. I wonder if he's not going to start over Summer, obviously, because Summer's playing at Inter Milan and playing well. But at some point, Kobel does deserve to be nodded in a bit more in Switzerland, I think.
My guess will probably start for us in the next World Cup if we make it. That's my guess.
Maybe, yeah. And then we're doing a 4-3-3, right? Is that what we're doing?
I think it's so close. You can do 4-3-3, you can do even 4-2-3-1 because that's kind of what Dortmund plays. But I think either way, it's we could. I think we could do 4-3-3. To be fair, I think we could.
Let's do a 4-3-3 then with a CDM and 2 8s.
Yeah.
So for me, the next thing is gonna be the right back, which for me, it's either Ryerson or Carvajal. I'm gonna have to say Carvajal.
So I'll agree with you on Carvajal because he's been fantastic this season. But I want to give a big shout out to Ryerson because he's the most underrated player in that team, I think. Because I think he gets looked up. He gets looked. Look, I think they'll say this technical ability. He's not at the same level as everyone else in the starting 11. But I think when you look at that defensive unit, Maatsen, of course, gets more of the plaudits because we see more in action and he's more vibrant and experienced. But Ryerson, what I like, he's better defensive than Maatsen. I think he has a better football IQ than Maatsen also. So I think he has good things. I'll still, of course, go Carvajal because I think Carvajal's a good season and he merits it. But I think Ryerson's very underrated, candidly. He's not as good as Carvajal this season, but yeah.
No, fair enough. I just don't. I think out of, I know I find him somewhat underrated, I guess, but I believe that out of that Dortmund team, he's the weakest point.
Yeah, that's
if I'm being honest. So yeah, I would not start him in at right back. But now for the 2 center backs, for me, Hummels is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
he has had an absolute reemergence this season, and that PSG performance in the semi-final second leg was unreal.
Incredible. I agree.
Absolutely unreal from him. And I'm again still sad he's not being called up for Germany, but for me that's a no-brainer. And at the other center back position, our options are Schlotterbeck, who's had a good season, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
Not so much in the Bundesliga. Rudiger has had a pretty damn good season as well. And I don't know what you were going to say, but I was going to say he would slot in next to Hummels.
I agree with Rudiger. I think Schlotterbeck Schlotterbeck for me is a bit too inconsistent. I do really like Schlotterbeck, but Rudiger has, I think, been on, again, different gravy. I think there's like a clear quality disparity. Like, how to explain, it's like Schlotterbeck's best game was like the PSG games. Those are his best games. And still, though, it's like, that's the best he can do, and it's not in the same ballpark as Rudiger. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like Rudiger is just like different best. Yeah, I go Rudiger and Hummels. And then left back, for me, I think it has to be Maatsen, because I think Maatsen has been better.
Ferland Mendy has had a better season and people would give him credit for.
I agree, but Maatsen has been just...
Yeah, but I think Maatsen gives an offensive edge to that Dortmund side, which I feel Ferland Mendy doesn't particularly give it in Real Madrid.
Yeah.
He does the job, which is what you want. But I don't particularly think that he has that edge that Maatsen brings. So I will agree with you that Maatsen should be in at left back there.
Yeah.
Right. Now our 6. Is the name that I'm thinking of going to come back again?
Well, I love Tchouaméni, and he's the purest 6 in the Real Madrid team, so I'm going for Tchouaméni. I'm sorry, I think as a 6 he has to be, because Dortmund's 6 is like, they don't really have even a pure 6. I mean, Chan is the closest thing.
Chan is basically the pure 6, but not really.
That's my point.
Fine. I'll let you have Tchouaméni. Fair enough. Go ahead. Tchouaméni in the 6.
Lovely.
And then this is where it gets interesting, the 2 midfield spots, the 2 8s. I think Kroos needs to be there.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
I think
the others, who's your other choice?
Kroos and Bellingham. I've got to go with both, I think, honestly, because Bellingham, he's a Sabitzer. I really like Sabitzer, very underrated player, but just not in the same.
I was going to say Sabitzer deserves a shout because
definitely.
He has had a really good goal output this season, especially in the Champions League. So I think it's a good one.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
will say credit also to Julian Brandt. I think he's had a good season as well for sure. But it's got to be Kroos and Bellingham for me. It's got to be. So
Hmm.
I think we got to go with the full Real Madrid midfield in my view.
Hmm. Yeah. And then on the left is going to be Vinny, obviously.
Of course, yeah, no debate about that.
And then next on the right, it's got to be Rodrigo, I believe.
Yeah, I think Jadon Sancho. He's had a good performance since coming in, but Rodrigo's just been.
Yeah, but he hasn't done enough. I don't
I
think he's
agree.
done enough.
Gotta be Rodrigo. I'm not debating that.
And
Who's your
then in the
striker?
top, striker has got to be full crew for me. I
Okay.
think Joselu's had a good season. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
think if Fulkrug doesn't bring what Fulkrug brings, it would be a Joselu no-brainer for me.
Right.
But I think that Fulkrug brings that extra efficiency
Definitely. 100%.
and a bit better hold-up play than Joselu does. So yeah,
I did see an analysis on the Bundesliga. He's been struggling a bit more with his hold-up play.
slightly a bit more. But if you're looking at the Champions League purely,
He's been.
I think he's been quite good. So
His clinicality's been his best. His efficiency is so good. It's so good.
maybe in terms of the numbers, in terms of the stats like goals and assists and contributions and all that, and goals per minute and whatever,
Yeah.
Joselu might have the edge, obviously. But I think, it's better for our starting 11 combined with Fulkrug to end.
Definitely.
So that is our final combined starting 11.
Yeah. Let us know what you
And
think.
that- Yeah, please let us know what you think. And now, finally, let us conclude with what we think is going to happen in this final.
Do you want to go you first? Or do you want me to go
I think, sadly, because I would love to see Dortmund win, it's going to be a 2-0 win for Real Madrid.
That's for who are you going to be your scorers?
I think Vinny's going to get one, and maybe Bellingham will get the other one. I hate this. I hate choosing goal scorers because I'm like, it's so like random for me.
That's
But
my bad for putting you on the spot. But look,
yeah, that's my prediction.
completely fair. Look, and that's most people's predictions. And I generally mean this. I'm going for Dortmund.
Yeah.
I'm going for Dortmund. I know many people might think it's hard over head, but here's my thing. Both teams this entire Champions League campaign have shown that no matter the situation, they can pull it off. Whether it's Dortmund coming from behind against Madrid, whether it's holding off defensively against PSG. Same for Real Madrid. For Real Madrid. No matter when you think they're out of it, they can always get back in it. So I think Dortmund will take the lead in this game, actually.
Yeah.
And I do think Real Madrid will equalize later on. But I think the only thing that's going to be different about this game, and I really have faith in this, I think this goes to extra time. And I'm going for 2-1 for Dortmund after extra time. Because Real Madrid,
interesting call.
the reason why is this. Real Madrid have shown adversity when they're behind. But when it comes to a crunch game, when I mean like the second legs, because they did this in the first leg against Man City, but they didn't do this in the second leg. I'm not sure how Real Madrid will cope where if they go behind, bring it back, but then go behind again. Because they did that in the first leg against Man City, but it wasn't as much crunch time because it wasn't as much the do or die. I think Dortmund actually will score a second goal. I really do. Because I think Real Madrid's defensive susceptibility will cost them a second goal. I do.
And who's scoring?
I'm going to go the first Dortmund goal. I'm going to go with Füllkrug. The second one, I'm actually going to go off a corner for Hummels. I genuinely...
The hero gets the goal. The hero gets it.
The goal. And the last reason I go for Dortmund, as a final note before we end, is both teams, I think, can show how they can deal with panic. But I think Dortmund have shown a different kind of mentality in terms of dealing with panic, of dealing with wave after wave after wave of attack consistently.
Fair enough.
And I think they can pull it off. So I'm going with 2-1 for Dortmund after extra time. But yeah.
So this is our conclusion. I'm going 2-0 for Real Madrid because I believe that the Real Madrid offense is just going to be too much. And I'm not so confident, apart from Füllkrug, in the offensive ability of Dortmund in this final. However, Gabe has gone for a 2-1 extra time win for Dortmund. So, with that in mind, I hope everybody enjoys the final and that we will see you next time or another time very soon.
See you guys soon.